morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Career Success Show with Adrian and Yen.
Happy Friday and Happy New Year.
It's an amazing time we had last week over Chinese New Year. Did you put on any weight?
I probably did. 4 days of eating. How about you?
Probably did, but I hide my fat quite well. So it's all well tucked away in loose folds of shirt.
But Happy New Year, everyone. We've got 15 days of celebration, so let's continue to celebrate.
Yeah, and even as I was talking to relatives over the weekend, a number of them were telling me that there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. In fact, last month, the numbers that came out showed that retrenchments were on a high.
Yeah, and lots of organizations are letting people go. I don't know what it is. Are we heading towards a recession or something? But I feel like there's a copycat or domino effect. I don't know. If somebody does it and they're probably thinking, company B is like, hey, I should copy my neighbor and keep up with the Joneses, and I should also be seen maybe taking this opportunity and I can get away with it.
So that's why the big question now is this, do we even feel a need to be loyal to the companies when companies just dropping people off at the flick of a hat, when numbers aren't right, when the CEO decides that, hey, I want to look good for this quarter?
We don't know. But I think in the modern world of work, it seems like people are staying short stints, like gigs, 3 to 5 years. Gigs, yeah. And then they sign a contract, and then 3 years later, they're going, bye-bye, I have another job opportunity, and I'm going to take that other offer instead.
And that's why the problem now is this. A lot of people still are focusing on employee loyalty. Companies are still expecting their staff to be loyal. And I'm wondering, is employee loyalty dead? What do you think?
I feel like it depends on which side of the fence you're on. I mean, if you're the employee, you're thinking, hey, my employer should value me and they should be loyal to us because they need us. But if I'm an employer, I'd be looking at my employees and going, like, you should be loyal because I'm paying you and I'm giving you all these opportunities and I'm grooming you. So I think it depends on which side you're on.
Let's take a very structured approach to this first. Okay, let's look at the employer. Is employer loyalty dead?
I don't like the way you've asked that question because it sounds very clickbaity. I think that in certain organizations that somehow have a very strong culture, and you can tell because if you do an employee engagement survey with some of these organizations, the length of service averages 15 years. For example, there are such organizations still. And then there are those that are characterized by short stints, 18 months, and the entire department has changed.
The employee or the employer?
I don't know. It could be anything. It could be multiple factors. And so is employer loyalty dead? Answer is probably on its last legs with an IV drip.
Okay. What do you think the behaviors that employee loyalty actually means? What are some of the behaviors?
Wait, employee or employer?
Sorry, employer loyalty. So, example for me, if a company takes care of their staff, I think that's one behavior. If there's a promotion coming up or if there's a vacancy and the company considers their local individuals, their own team, current teammates for the role, and even if the person is only 80% qualified for the role, investing in that person in training and putting him in a role rather than parachuting someone from outside the company or even outside the country in the same company, I think that is one of the signals of employer loyalty.
It would definitely stem from culture. It's also about whether or not they've got frameworks and the infrastructure already put in place, and then everyone kind of follows the lay of the land.
A company who has employer loyalty would actually do that, I guess. But when the company doesn't even care,
I was just thinking about how as a employer loyalty, employers will be loyal to the
bottom line, the shareholders,
employees whom they consider top performers.
And the reason is because, as I said, I think the loyalty for the employers is ultimately it kicks up.
I mean, you've got to be the favorite child. Then the employer will want to keep you. Then they'd be very loyal to you. They'd they'll put you in hypo programs. They put you in executive leadership courses, and then they'll train you and they'll groom you, and then there'll be a succession plan. There'll be a career path. Not everyone has that benefit.
Yeah, not everyone has that benefit. Maybe a top 5% if you're lucky. But the bigger question is this: how many companies even practice that? So anecdotally, I think many companies want to do it, but you don't. So, quick example, Singaporean example. During COVID, one of the karaoke chains, Teo Heng, I think, the bosses actually, there's no business, but the bosses dip into their own pocket to pay for the salaries throughout the whole 2 years.
I remember Sheng Siong doing something very similar as well to motivate their staff, and then they rewarded their staff quite generously.
6 months to...
Then again, COVID was an unusual time.
yeah, but unusual times call for unusual
Measures,
behaviors
and I think
measures.
these are actions that go a long way in the myth and the legend of the organization and their leaders.
But those are signs of employer loyalty. But if you look at it, I think I can safely say that it's, you know, like what you correctly pointed out. It's employer loyalty is on its last legs.
So why are we talking about this? Again, I guess the purpose is for those of us out there
Yeah.
to do our research, to look at the culture of the organization and its reputation. Don't believe everything that you read online, because only unhappy people go online to complain.
Yeah.
So find out for yourself if the culture fits you.
But if a company has good culture, I think it kind of shows. But the reason why we're talking about employer loyalty, because loyalty is a two-way street. If you want to expect the employee to be loyal, you have to display that loyalty first. And it's not a matter of which comes first, chicken or the egg. I think that the grown-up in the room, which is supposed to be the employer, should exhibit that first. Because if the company is not being loyal, why should we be loyal? So that's why, in fact, why do companies retrench staff?
Remember that episode when we talked about and we had a reaction to that lady who was
yes.
getting exited? She was very upset. And why do organizations do that? That particular organization, they believe in hiring and then firing fast. In the event they realize that this person is not fit for whatever reason. So to answer your question, I don't know what's the reason. There are many reasons for why organizations do what they do. It could possibly be, I don't know, just bloodletting.
I agree.
They're bloodletting. Maybe they want to change the team structure. Maybe they want to reorg for optimized revenue, or maybe they want to clean up their margins a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to improve their bottom line. So there are so many reasons.
So the way we see it is that there are two reasons for retrenchments. One is
Two only? I just said there were many.
No, the two categories of what you've listed: aggressive retrenchment and defensive retrenchment. Okay, defensive retrenchment is basically when a company is short of funds and then they
need to survive.
They need to survive, or maybe a particular service or product is being grandfathered or sunset out of it. So you can't have them anymore. So the teams are let go compassionately or otherwise. Those are more defensive. But we see aggressive companies that are making money and yet they're still letting people go.
I think they're just making it's opportunistic. It's okay to be opportunistic because
I heard?
what?
I heard Better.com. The CEO let a whole bunch of people go back in 2021, and not only via Zoom, but apparently through a video recording on Zoom. Okay, and that's not the worst part. That's bad practice. Apparently, the CFO, according to Simon Sinek, okay, the CFO justified the retrenchment exercise, and he said, "Oh, we had to do it because we had to fortify the balance sheet."
At least he was being transparent.
So cool.
And some organizations may have
just-
overhired, and if they claim they can be very clean about it.
So clinical.
But there are a lot of organizations who don't feel the need to explain themselves and just do it anyway in a high-handed manner. It doesn't bode well for future hires. So these organizations need to realize that the optics are not really good, and if they don't compassionately exit their staff, they not just damage their reputation for employer loyalty. Future individuals may not want to join, and then it's a vicious cycle because only the most desperate souls would join them, and then they would leave within 18 months for better opportunities. So then it sometimes we wonder why people do what they do, and if they don't think about the long game, it damages. There are ramifications and consequences down the line.
So, what are some of the behaviors of a good employee, a good loyal employee? What do you think?
Employer or employee? Well, you're jumping all over the place.
Now we're
Adrian.
shifting. We've spoken enough about employers already. What do you think? Okay, for me, I think when we say you don't have to be a loyal employee.
He's had too much coffee this morning.
Every morning. A loyal employee. Okay, so if a person working for Coca-Cola and he drinks Pepsi,
There's nothing wrong with that.
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Because maybe it's not a choice. Maybe it wasn't available.
No,
Maybe
no,
Coke wasn't
trust me,
available.
I know people in Samsung who use Apple phones and make it.
And that's okay too,
And that's okay. Do they stop being a
because it's
disloyal?
called competitive analysis.
So,
And that's okay.
It's okay.
You don't want to be blindly loyal, because that's silly
Yeah, I think
too.
that's the key word. So it's not about being blindly loyal. You'll be surprised when we call individuals up for when I was headhunting, and I say, look, we have a potential job offer here. We like to explore. And they go, no, I don't want to, because I'm very loyal to my company. I've been working here for 18 years. They take good care of me. And that's, I think, called blind loyalty, because normally after 3 months they call me back and say, hey, Adrian, I just got retrenched. Now, do you have a job open? Is it still open? So that's blind loyalty, I guess.
And sometimes with that blind loyalty, you get blindsided.
Yeah, literally.
Literally.
And the sad thing about it is that these people don't realize that the equation has changed. And therefore, they have to start shifting their mindset to not just blind loyalty, but being wiser and more street smart.
I think our listeners would have heard me use the survivor analogy. I don't know if our listeners are survivor fans, but the show, it's a reality program, and then they all go on this island, and then they play games, but they also go into alliances and all. And there's a lot of that. I don't know if you want to call it politicking, but that's what it is, isn't it? It is maneuvering, it is influencing, it is manipulating, it is just being smart about it and thinking 3 steps ahead. So if you choose to be loyal to your organization, great, but until what point when you realize that they're not returning their affection? And if you're the one invested in this relationship with your employer and your employer is not reciprocating, it's time for you to think out the box a little bit and figure out what's your backup plan, and then what's the backup to your backup plan.
Yeah. So that's why the big question today is this, okay? Should we be loyal to our employers? The answer is yes, we should. But should we be blindly loyal and excluding all other options that are on the table? Or even not on the table, but out there in the ether? Answer is no.
And I also wanted to highlight one thing. As an employee, okay, I'm talking to all of us here who are, workers. What can you do to demonstrate employer and some loyalty to your employer? Because it takes 2 hands to clap. And if your leaders don't feel like you're invested in the role, or if they feel that you're just here to pass the time or to do just enough, this quiet quit movement, or it feels like you're utilizing this particular stint to prepare for something else. If I, as your leader, feel that you're not quite invested in this relationship, then I will also reciprocate in kind. I might not give you the opportunities, I might not give you the time to develop your skills. So there's a lot to be seen. So as an employee, as a worker, you want to start demonstrating that you're invested in this role. And that's when a sense of ownership is important. You want to have ideas, you want to have initiative, you want to step up, you want to try. But again, don't be a doormat. So if you get thrown all sorts of projects, left, right, center, and you're stretching your bandwidth to its very seams are going to burst. I'm very dramatic at this point. You at some point something's going to give, and if you try to please everyone, you please no one. So that's why people come to us, because they need help balancing work, balancing stakeholders, balancing expectations. And we're very good at that. So come talk to us if you have a complex issue.
That's true. So once again, what are some of the things you can do as an employee not to be too blindly loyal to your employer? And one of the things we always recommend is this: adopt a gig mentality. Don't assume that you will be at a company for the next 5, 10, 15 years. Okay, always assume that within the next 2 or 3 years, or even the next 18 months, okay, your role may not be there. And once you have that mentality, that defensive mentality, you would be able to shift your thinking into, what are the other options out there? So if a headhunter calls you up, you entertain the person and talk to the person rather than say, I don't need it, I'm too comfortable here.
Actually, comfort zone is a thing. Sometimes we are creatures of habit, and the stimulus, pain is a stimulus, change is a stimulus we don't like, and we stay away from those things, and sometimes it hurts us in the long run. So yes, Adrian's absolutely right. I mean, but at the moment, the gig mentality might be a bit dangerous. So people misunderstand that that gigs is about finishing this and then moving on to the next one. There is a bit of that, but I also want to caution against looking at your current role as if it was a short-term one. It's also dangerous because if you look at your current role as if it was short-term, then you're not investing. If you're not investing, then you might not get the returns.
I mean, ultimately, it's nice if you stay more than 3 years, more than 5 years. That's perfectly good. But
don't stay too long either. We've seen...
Once again, it's all very subjective. Come talk to us if you have questions.
I've seen candidates, 21 years in the same company, very hard to place. It's really hard to sell such candidates.
And not only is it hard to sell, these people find it hard to adapt elsewhere as well.
And they're very stuck in their ways and their thoughts. You know that every other sentence coming out their mouth is, in my last job, I always did it this way.
In my previous company, we did it this way. So it's happened. And also the other thing you can do is keep an eye out for opportunities. So if you're out in the market and talking to people in the industry, and if you see like, hey, there's growth in this particular space, maybe I want to find out more. If your company isn't focused on that growth and you think it's a high opportunity space, start exploring opportunities in that area.
Yeah, I mean, don't go out to the world and say, hey, I'm looking for an opportunity. Just be curious and find out what's going on and see if it's worth a thought or maybe a side hustle or an explore. Just go and have a chat. And at least do some competitive analysis as well so that you can find out what else is going on the other side of the table. And if anything happens on this side, you can cross over to cross the road and join your competitor. Yeah. Who knows?
Who knows? If you don't find out, you will never know.
I think we're talking about insurance. It feels like an insurance. You want to have a backup plan.
I think it's always good. And one thing funny I always find out is that when I was hunting, I would ask people out for meetings, coffee. Can I explore this role with you? And they go, no, I got no time.
The thing is this: if anyone asks me out for coffee, my answer is always no. Generally, no. Except for recruiters. So the thing is this, it's in your benefit, right, to meet such people. But if somebody keeps asking you for coffee in order to pick your brain all the time, then you don't want to waste the time. Because there's a cost to your time and you're busy. But if a recruiter comes along and says, hey, can we catch up because there might be something worth listening to, you want to find out what it is because somebody sees you, hold you in esteem, that you're good enough for something.
You can have so much market information. So if you're talking, if you're
information.
If you're out sitting down with a recruiter, okay, he's probably trying to find out more about yourself, but also more about your company, your industry. Share with him information, but you can also get info from him. Info like, who's hiring, which company is hiring, what sort of roles. If you look at my profile,
budget for somebody, what's my market rate?
Overpaid. No, what's my market rate? No.
That's worth a cup of coffee.
That's worth a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Yes. And in fact, if you start asking questions like if you look at my profile, why wouldn't your client be interested in my profile? What are the areas where are my gaps? Then you look at, or you can even ask someone in my equivalent seniority, where are they now? Are they having a bigger regional coverage than me, or are they having a smaller regional coverage? Am I overpriced? So all these market data points are very useful if you just sit down and have coffee with individuals like headhunters, or even sometimes even a competitor.
So this is a great segue into the next thing that you can do, which is to stay networked. We want you to stay networked because that market information, you never know when it's going to be useful. So all of the questions that Adrian was just talking about, you can replicate that with other people within your industry if you stay connected to industry people about what's happening in their space or what they foresee as an upcoming trend or something that they're worried about in the next fiscal year, for example. So these are insights that sometimes can be very useful.
Yeah. And of course, it's not about networking. It's not just about networking with people within your immediate vicinity. You can actually reach out to people that you may have lost contact with in a long time, or maybe even people outside your circle. Just drop them a message on LinkedIn and just say, hey, hi, can we connect?
If I'm busy working and I'm pleasing my bosses, the last thing I want to do is to be connecting to old people. It's not easy.
Okay, not all people,
not
old contacts.
Old contacts, yes. Old contacts from way back when. You know what I mean, okay.
And that's why the next point is You got to be proactive.
So we're not asking you to be the life of the party. We're not asking you to spend all your time as a politician out there garnering votes and doing walkabouts. No, we're asking
Kissing
you.
babies.
We're asking you to perhaps be a little bit more. What's the word for it? Regular in reaching out. So maybe one contact a week. You don't have to go all out because you're not in active job search mode. You're in accelerate. You're trying to accelerate. You're trying to stay up to date. You're trying to be relevant, and as part of staying relevant in your career is to stay networked. So regularly catch up with people, and absolutely you want to take advantage of every conference out there because you have that chance opportunity that usually happens when you attend conferences.
Moral of the story is, we cannot be 100% dependent on our employers for our rice bowl, okay, for our next meal, and for our job. You have to have backup plans. You have to be street smart and know that, if it hits me tomorrow, if I wake up tomorrow and I go to work and suddenly my key card doesn't work and I'm being told that, hey, you're being retrenched, what are your backup plans? And if you are career agile, you would already have some ideas, and therefore you'll feel a lot more confident even today as you go to work, because you know that, hey, if anything happens, there's something else out there.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Do I have to be loyal to my organization, or is it more a loyalty to a personality like my boss?
That's a good question. I think you can be loyal to your boss, and I think you should be loyal to your boss, especially if he's a good boss, and especially if he's known to take care of people, and more so if he has a good network and everything. So if he leaves the company, he might pull you along. But don't be blindly loyal, right?
Don't be blindly loyal. I've had so many horror stories of individuals who followed their leader, their direct superior, to 2 different organizations successfully, and then followed them to a third one only to fall off the cliff. Because the boss loyalty ended there.
It ended there.
Because boss loyalty, given the circumstances, maybe the situation, or the change in the political alignments, I can no longer look after you. So you want to follow maybe more than one leader?
That's a good idea. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Haha, terrible.
You want to have a couple of backups, the general, and then there are some key lieutenants.
And sometimes your leader might be a basket case as well. So
you never know. But I've had a lot of I've stories of executives who follow a leader and then that leader retired. It's not your fault. The person was a good leader, but that leader has since retired and is no longer.
So you have to update your.
You need to have a succession plan for your leaders as well. Who do you follow and who are you loyal to? You've got to have a backup plan of who to follow.
To the backup plan. So ultimately it's all about being street smart, and if you need any advice on this, reach out to us, info@careeragility.org. We're always happy to help. And it's today, I think the biggest takeaway is that no job is guaranteed. Your job could evaporate any point in time for no reason whatsoever. Therefore we need to rethink the concept of blind employee loyalty. 2024
has started out very, very rocky. I am cautiously optimistic that things will stabilize, but we never know. You never know. There might be an alien attack. I've been following a spate of alien movies and global disaster type movies, only because I got nothing better to do and I like violence. So you never know when there'll be a next alien. So you wanna be prepared, and you want to be proactive in managing your career and play the long game.
So there's this. I know Chinese isn't my strongest suit, but someone once told me this thing. It's called 不怕一万，只怕万一, which means that do not be afraid of that 1,000, okay, but be afraid of that 1 in 1,000 that could happen. And if that black swan event happens, then you can be in really, really big trouble. So you never know. Don't be complacent. Reach out to us and see how you can fortify your career.
Yeah, my favorite clients are the proactive ones.
Yeah, the healthy, proactive ones. So anyway, reach out to us, info@careeragility.org, and have a great week ahead.
Take care.
Bye.